Hi everyone, and welcome to another video from Hostile Territory, where we talk about toxic workplaces and how to save yourself from them and how to make your life easier in such a bad environment. In this video, we'll be talking about nepotism and favoritism. I'll tell you a story from personal experience, but also we'll talk about what is nepotism, how to deal with it, what are the dangers of it, and more. So stay tuned.
Hostile Territory.
Before we start, as always, I would like to read the definition of what nepotism is. To be precise, I've taken this definition off of Wikipedia, so I'm going to read it for you. It goes that nepotism is the act of granting advantage, privilege, or position to relatives in an occupation field. During my working career of 26 years, I've seen my fair share of nepotism and what it can do to a workplace. I'll be talking about that right now. It simply ruins it. It ruins the company. It ruins the people that work inside the company. And, in a matter of, let's say, on average, about 10 to 15 years, the company goes under because of those things. Now, you may ask yourself, what is all the fuss about nepotism, about favoritism and everything else? Isn't it normal that if you're a father, you want to employ your son? Isn't it normal that a mother employs a daughter? Isn't it normal that you want to employ your nephew in the same company you work at? Well, the quick answer is no, it is not normal, and I will tell you why. Except in family companies where this is standard practice, but even in family companies, they avoid this like wildfire. Trust me, there is a big problem in employing someone you know, someone you care about, and everything else. The foundation of the problem is that you're not objective to that person. That is the first problem. That lack of objectivity leads to certain manipulations, and those manipulations lead to bigger problems which go into the realm of productivity and efficiency within the company. Now, this is a bit confusing, but I will try to make an example. For instance, I'm a father who wants to employ my son within the company. And there are 5 candidates for that job. I can clearly see that the other 4 candidates are more capable than my son to do that job. But I'm hell-bent on employing my son. What I will of course do, especially if I'm a boss, supervisor, or something else, is make certain accommodations for my son to get that job. And what happens in case of nepotism is that despite the fact that those people are more capable, they showed more capacity, my son got the job. And everything is good and fine. My son arrives to the job, he gets the first task, and what happens is that the son does not know how to do it. Then he gets the second task, it's the same thing. Then he gets the third task, it's the same thing. The next thing that will happen is that someone from the head management or someone above you will ask you, what the hell is going on? Why isn't that task done? Why didn't he do it properly or something else? But then, of course, because of natural behavior, I want to protect my son. So I go and do the job for him. Or I get one of those 4 capable people, employ them in some sort of lower rank, and sort of try to manipulate my way into making that person do the job for my son. And if I do that in a good way, my son will start to look like a good and capable worker. Now, I hope you got the picture. This is how nepotism and favoritism works. Essentially, you give a job to a person that is not capable of doing it because you like that person or because he or she is your relative. Another 2 big problems that nepotism and favoritism make within the company is that there starts to be a lack of morale and motivation within the workplace, which is a very dangerous thing. And the other thing is that within the company, there is an unfair atmosphere. Lots of people who are waiting for a promotion, perhaps, who have worked their butts off to make things happen, who have invested lots of time and effort and everything else, simply see someone else get that promotion or those benefits or anything else. So those 2 things are very dangerous, and both of them, trust me, will drive people out of the company for sure. Now, regarding personal experience with nepotism and favoritism. Well, in my previous toxic workplace, and I made a testimonial video about this. If you have the time, go and watch it. I'll leave a link in the corner of this video and a link in the video description. If you watch that testimonial video, you'll see what I went through dealing with toxic people dealing with bad situations and keeping my back against the wall. One of those bad things was nepotism and favoritism. For instance, what was the circle of people I worked with? There was a boss, then there was the boss's mistress, then there was the best friend of the boss and the mistress. Later, the best friend employed his son to work in the company, and previously to that, the boss employed his best friend as a town acquaintance. I don't know how to put it differently. All of them were tightly knit, knew each other, and were a company of their own. So what were the problems with this? Well, first of all, I'll mention the favoritism part. For instance, the boss's mistress made humongous mistakes. This woman was simply a hurricane within the office. Big mistakes, she didn't watch at all what she was doing, she didn't pay attention, made expensive mistakes, dangerous situations and everything else. Do you think that anyone from the head management heard about that? Nope. The boss simply pushed it under the rug as much as he could because those were big mistakes and, saved her butt every time. On the other hand, I made 3 mistakes in the total of 12 years while I was working there. All of those 3 mistakes were heard for within the head management and the head office. The second example is the best friend. The best friend was a serious slacker, underachiever, and someone who ran from work, like it was the plague. That ended up in me doing a large portion of that person's work and even working overtime and everything else. And I had to do this because I had to save my job. I didn't have any kind of other income. And that is how it finished. So my situation would be a very good example of how nepotism works. All I wanted to do is to do my job fairly, correctly, in the interest of the company and be productive. That's it. Those were some of my main goals. On the other hand, you had 5 other people who had only their own interests, their own sort of agendas and everything else. Besides starting to have health issues and everything else, the nepotism and the favoritism drove me away. It started to produce problems like me having to do other people's work. It started producing problems like me losing certain benefits. It started to produce problems like me starting to become unrecognized within the company. Lots of people started forgetting that I even exist, despite the fact that I was doing a lot of work. And this is perhaps, in a nutshell, what nepotism causes. It causes good, fair workers to leave the company because of this. And what you're left with is people who are tightly knit together, but they do not know how to do the work and they are not productive. Now, how to fight nepotism in a workplace. If you work in a normal company, you probably won't be hearing about any of this. Most companies have strict policies against nepotism and favoritism. Otherwise, those companies would not exist today. But if you work in a toxic workplace, of course, the situation is totally different. There are 2 main ways how you can fight nepotism. The first is to have a neutral stance. So, for instance, if the boss or supervisor employed his or her son, just don't mind it. Just see it as something that you have to cope with and don't tell anybody about it. If someone asks you, say, oh, I guess that's normal, and that's it. The second way is the exact opposite, and that is to be loud about the nepotism as much as possible. Ask that at a meeting, tell that at some sort of social gathering and everything else. The next thing, write an email, make a meeting and go to someone who is above for instance, the manager who employed his or her son, and openly ask, what's the meaning of this? Be sure to ask this if that son or daughter cost you your promotion or cost you a rise in your paycheck. Just go and ask openly. What's the problem? How did that person that has 0 experience, 0 working years in the company get that position and I didn't? Next, be sure when making those complaints to have all of your data with you. Highlight all your achievements, highlight how much you've done for the company and everything else. You never know, it could also be a big help. I recommend the first sort of neutral approach to this problem if you have to stay in that toxic workplace for a prolonged period of time. So if you need the paycheck, if you need that job, if you can't find anything else, you just have to cope with it. On the other hand, if you have another job opportunity in sight, if you're gonna get another job soon, if you have some sort of other option to leave that workplace, if you're gonna press the eject button, then do the second option. Be loud about it as much as possible, because people who practice nepotism and favoritism hate that the most. So, dear viewers, including company owners, if you let nepotism and favoritism fester within the company structures, or you let this go unacknowledged, what will happen eventually is that, and I've seen this lots of times, is that you will get a big tribe of people within the company that are, in most cases, good for nothing. They are incapable of doing the job. So you'll have lots of people, lots of expenses, and zero productivity and results. Just employ people according to their capabilities. To all the companies out there, I do not know how there are not better filters for this. Just like I've said in the video about middlemen within the company, how is it possible for incapable and bad people to attain certain positions and hold them for decades? It's the same thing with nepotism. How there are not tests, screenings, I don't know, whatever it's called. At the end of the day, if the son, nephew, or daughter is capable and can do the job, they of course should get the job, but you know what I'm talking about. When push comes to shove, everybody will look for their own and perhaps get rid of the capable person instead of your own. So that's it for this time. I hope this video helps. Please like and subscribe. It's a huge help for what we're doing on this channel. Again, from the bottom of my heart, I hope all of these videos help navigate through a toxic workplace. It's a tough place to be, a bad place to be. The main point is to get through it as unscathed as possible and to keep your health intact. Thanks for watching, thanks for your time, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.